Good afternoon, my friends. This is the Grim Flayer. Hope you're all doing very well today, and we've got a spicy meatball indeed for you today. We are back on Catrock. It is Catrock Revisited, if you will, and it is for a donation league, but we've got a lot of fringe tech, frankly, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, these are cards that are really interesting, and some of them have really good synergies, specifically with Lurrus, like a lot of the other more stock, Catrock or Lurrus Jund or whatever cards might have, and others are just kind of cards that have been floating around the fringes, around the periphery of the BGX archetype in general overall. And this is a donation league for, and I hope I'm going to get your name right, my friend. I know you told me how to pronounce it. Dan Jelena. That's what we're going to go with. I think it's at least close. It's at least closer than how I've pronounced it before. And Dan is an awesome guy. He is a very studied BGX pilot. He's very interesting to bounce ideas off of. Always welcomed his contributions to the conversations. Dan is a Confidant tier supporter. In fact, one of the OGs, one of the very earliest supporters. And Dan gets to have the moral victory, the I told you so, even though he never really says that, of being the first one to ever suggest a Discord for the channel and for the channel's supporters. And I didn't take him up on it at the time that he suggested it, but later on, down the road, of course I did, and he actually had the idea before anybody else did. So that's Dan for you. Great guy, and he's also a mod on the Discord, so I really appreciate his support and his contribution in more than one way to the channel. And I am playing this donation league on his behalf with a list that he and I have kind of come up with together. It is definitely mostly his list, but of course I've had my input, and we had a great long conversation about what exactly we wanted to do. So you all know by now the concept of Lurrus in BGX in general. And you may have seen my recent Catrock video with a list that I consider to be relatively stock. So what I'm going to do here is talk about what's not stock. We're going to talk about what's different from the norm. First of all, we got to point out the beautiful basics. Ice Age, love to see it. Borrowed these from Dan. Also borrowed the Walking Ballista from Dan, so that's another thing we have to thank him for. The land base is relatively stock without too many surprises, besides the third copy of Overgrown Tomb. Not something you always see, but indeed we have it here. Moving on to the spells, first spell in the 1 mana slot is a doozy, Blackmail. Blackmail is a card I've mentioned a couple times on the channel before. It's definitely more cute than, guaranteed awesome, but it is a card that we should always be considering because it is not strictly worse than any other option. The fact that you can take away a land with Blackmail has obvious implications. We have all had Inquisition with on a hand of only lands. We've had Thoughtseize with, and cost us 2 life on a hand of only lands. Can you imagine casting a Blackmail there instead? And once, it's not the ideal spell to lead on, of course, because you're only seeing 3 cards, and those 3 cards are of the opponent's choice. But once you're into the mid or late game, Blackmail is honestly usually better, unless the opponent is somehow keeping a full grip, than Inquisition or Thoughtseize. And Dan wanted another discard spell that is good against both the Red Deck Wins archetypes and the Primeval Titan archetypes. Blackmail really does fit the bill, so we've got the awesome old Onslaught printing, and I'm pretty happy to try this out. We've got Deadweight, which is a piece of spice that's usually more of a sideboard card, at least that's how I've conceived of it, but it definitely seems main deckable as well, and we are opting for the latter today. Deadweight in the main. For Inquisition, 2 Thoughtseize, which is another bit of a hedge against burn, especially because we are still on 4 copies of Dark Confidant, so the inclusion of Blackmail and of the 4-2 IOK TES split are nods to that. And so is this main deck Collective Brutality, which is, again, something I did on my stock list, but we mention it here. 1 copy of Hexdrinker, 1 copy of Grim Flayer, and 1 copy of Walking Ballista kind of make up the supplementary threats, in addition to the 4 Bob, 4 Tarmogoyf, 3 Scavenging Ooze. That's all pretty stock. Walking Ballista is definitely what's not stock, but I hope you can see the wide variety of implications, including this card has. You can use it as a 2 mana kill an X1. You can use it as a 4 mana kill an X2. Or, of course, the longer the game goes on, the more mana you have, the better it is to hardcast it and get some kind of use case out of it. But it's an artifact, and it's a creature, so we can grow the Goyf nice and early, we can turn on Delirium nice and early, and of course it's another thing that you can use more aggressively than you otherwise would in windows where it's likely that you can buy it back with Lurrus of the Dream Den. Engineered Explosives is another card that is more often conceived of or registered in the sideboard, but we've got it main deck here. A lot of BGX decks have been maining one copy of EE, sometimes even two. Much like Nihil Spellbomb, it is a card that is more often sideboard, sometimes main deckable, and rendered much more main deckable than it would otherwise be by the prospect of bringing it back with Lurrus. The sideboard is even spicier, I dare say, than the main deck. We've got a lot of cards that I almost never play here. So, Pithing Needle. Pithing Needle is a awesome tool in a lot of matchups, but historically the notion about these static hate pieces is that they are not as useful in BGX decks as they are in other archetypes, just because we kind of need our cards to do both things. We like Collector Roof to be a Stony Silence on legs, for example, but Pithing Needle is something that we're going to try out here, and definitely has a lot of valid targets in the meta. I am also interested very much in this card, Eyes of the Wisent. Eyes of the Wisent is basically our Choke equivalent, even though it does something very, very different from Choke. We cannot play Choke in a Lurrus deck unless we want to forego Lurrus's upsides for that matchup, right? So Eyes of the Wisent, very, very cool card. It's one that people have mentioned here and there in my comment sections down the years, more like down the months maybe. And obviously this has got some interesting things going on. It's going to grow the Goyf and the Flayer like crazy if it does end up in the graveyard, and if it doesn't and you can stick it early against a blue deck, well, it's got a whole lot of inevitability there and a whole lot of upsides. It's certainly not an I win button, but few cards are against the blue decks. And Extinction Event is a new printing that I haven't tried yet. I think it's kind of interesting. It's maybe borderline playable in general, and then it's playability from that starting point may wax and wane based upon certain metagames, and neither Dan nor myself were super confident that now's the time to play Extinction Event, but it's just something that he had floating around in his maybe board with the initial draft of the list, and we said, hey, this is a fine time to test it. We got a lot of artifacts here, probably more artifacts than I've ever registered. It's pretty cool. Second Nihil Spellbomb, a copy of Shadow Spear, which I've talked about at length in the recent past, 2 copies of Damping Sphere, which are nice things to have when your ability to beat big mana is otherwise a little bit cramped, and Torpor Orb. This is a card I've never registered and people have asked me about a lot. Much like Pithing Needle, it's a valid card, but the static hate pieces are not generally something that I have opted for in the BGX archetype most of the time. But Torpor Orb, I don't know if I'm going to know exactly when to bring this card in, but against humans, against other decks with a lot of ETB creatures, maybe this even includes Primeval Titan, probably does, but we'll have to see exactly how what comes in, what comes out, right? But this is a very, very interesting one. Yorion decks, I suppose, right? We want Torpor Orb for that. And some familiar faces, Reign of Tears, Collective Brutality, rounding out the sideboard. So there we go, guys. I'm super excited for this one. This is a very, very, as I say, spicy meatball. And we have Dan to thank for it. So Dan, my friend, this one's for you. Truly appreciate you and everything you do. And let's play a league. While we are finding our first opponent, I would like to thank our newest Patreon supporter. I assume this is a French name. If it's not, if I'm wrong about that, I'm going to be wildly off base with the pronunciation here. But Guy Catelin is how I would say it. But I assume it's French. If it's not French, I just butchered your name, my friend. Sorry about that, but welcome to the fold. Guy is a confidant, and we are very happy to have your support as well as the support of all patrons. And yeah, we're waiting for the opponent here. Other notes from Dan include, I'm not playing Veil of Summer because it is gross, which is very factually correct. That is an objective truth. Veil of Summer, gross. Gross confirmed. No doubting that. He also, of course, encourages and welcomes feedback on the list. And what else do we have going on here? I mean, there's just a whole lot that Dan and I talked about. I won't read you the whole riot act here, but it's always fun to communicate with a supporter over a donation league list. It's definitely one of the fun ways to interact with the community. And here we are with a quite fine opening hand. Alrighty. Oh no, it's Tron time. Well, at least they don't have turn 1 map, right? So, pretty clearly going to bauble the opponent here and then follow up with Inquisition. With no mulligan and no turn 1 play, this might be a little likelier to be Eldrazi Tron, but then we see Island on the top, so it's actually Blue Tron. Okay, Blue Tron it is. So the opponent has Chalice for 1 and Remand. Guess we're just going to take the Remand. We can decay the Chalice at our leisure. And we know the opponent's drawing Island for turn. We've hit our 3rd land off the Bauble. A good start. A good start. Here's our Dark Confidant, and back to the OP. Let's make sure their islands are homogeneous, because if they play mismatched basics, you can get them. You can get them that way, right? Alright, so Bob has connected. Options here include just jamming another 2-drop. In this case, I think Bob or Scooz are roughly equally viable. Or just passing, holding up Abrupt Decay, which I don't quite like as much. We could be more mana efficient and pulse away the Chalice, which is probably not necessary. Or we can just jam Lurrus and try to go for a nice high upside play. Very mana efficient and very value positive while still being proactive. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to jam the Lurrus. Hope they did not draw. Permission. Alright, so opponent's about to draw Thirst for Knowledge. And there's 1 unknown in their hand. Okay. No 4th land, despite seeing a million, trillion, billion cards, which is a bit awkward. So I think before anything else happens, we're going to get the Bauble back. Alright. I think now's the time. I think now we want to unlock our 1-drops, and I am interested in Inquisition. After they resolve their Thirst for Knowledge, it does seem likely enough that our Inquisition will hit, right? So I'm going to decay the Chalice. This play would be clearer, you know, more clearly correct if we had a Thoughtseize here, but I still kind of like it, right? To truly know something, you must become it. The trick is to not lose yourself in the process. Every now and then it's important to slow down and read the flavor text, right? Ooh, I got distracted by the flavor text. With Inquisition on the stack, I should have baubled the opponent for more info. Alright, now I'm going to. because they're dismembering Lurrus. Alright, so they're about to draw a Field of Ruin. Inquisition is going to whiff. Okay, they just had all lands on top and in the hand, basically. So we're a bit punished. We could have played Mine Tower Talaria West. Got it. And they're about to draw a field. We could have played more proactively than this and not been punished for it, but a lot of the time we would have been, right? So opponent is Tron line if they wish to be. Alternatively, they can do something with Talaria West, or not even alternatively. It's a Ballista. Well, they've dealt with our board pretty well, but we've got a nice full grip to rebuild. Obviously, we can answer their Ballista no problem as well. We'll just have to fade some top decks, but you know, drawing a 4th land would have been really nice. We miss it yet again. We're just not quite being as ruthless as we would otherwise be. We're still very far ahead. But, you know, ooh, the opponent doesn't even bother pinging us in response. But if we could be triple spelling instead of just double spelling, yeah, we'd be in great shape. Okay, opponent just drawn more removal for Bob. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Still no 4th land. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm just going to keep running out threats here. They're pretty underwhelming right now, but at least they are, you know, at like different converted mana costs in case that matters. And they both have upsides and they both can scale up pretty well, but okay, opponent with 1 unknown in hand. What's it going to be? Is it anything relevant? They've got a lot of non-relevant things, obviously. Lands. Chalices are pretty non-relevant at this point. Permission's pretty non-relevant. Okay, so I think we just get in for 4 here. See if they've got anything to say about it. Maybe eat one thing with an ooze before blocks. I think that could be reasonable. It's impossible to say, right, without knowing anything about what's in their hand. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I don't think it's worth trophying a Tron land here because they just kind of have it anyway. If they draw a bomb, they want to hard cast it, right? Nevertheless, I think passing here, holding up trophy is fine. That's the concession. All right, bit of a weird game 1, but, you know, Bob sticking on curve. Really going to do it. Really going to do it against a deck like this a lot of the time. So, Blue Tron is not a very common meta deck. Builds do vary. I might have a lot of maybe board stuff. Like right away I'm saying maybe Abrupt Decay, maybe Eyes of the Wisent, maybe Collective Brutalities, definitely Reign of Tears. Even Damping Sphere is only a maybe because they're not that invested in just assembling Tron at all costs like Green Tron is, right? And Pithing Needle, maybe. Nihil Spellbomb, maybe. I've always kind of felt this way against Blue Tron, and part of it is because the deck's never that much in the meta, so you don't have that good of a feel necessarily of specifically what the opponent's likely to be on. We're cutting Ballista. Definitely going to play the Rain of Tears no matter what. Cutting Dead Weight. Thing is, most of our main deck cards are pretty fine. So I might sideboard pretty conservatively until I see more. How good is Eyes of the Wizened against Mono Blue Tron? I don't know. I don't know. That might be more of an on-the-play thing and or need more information to decide thing. Let's cut all 4 Fatal Push, I suppose. Brutality. This seems like a fine matchup to try Pithing Needle out. It's a good way to answer a turn 1 map, if we have it in our opener. I'm thinking like 2 Collective Brutality might be the right amount. We want to fight through the permission, but obviously this does almost nothing in the face of Tron payoffs. There's some use cases for EE, we could bring that back. A second Nihil Spellbomb wouldn't really hurt, most likely, and they may well use the graveyard much more than we saw there. But we're here to spice it up, so I'm going to try Eyes of the Wizened, which I think I like just about as well as anything else that we could play, since we're kind of stabbing a bit in the dark here, right? A 5-lander. That's not good, but IOK into Flayer is a great, great opening against this deck. I'm definitely keeping if they mulligan. If they keep 7, I'm not sure, and they keep 7, huh? I think I'm going to go for it. I think I'm going to keep it. We should be able to stick the Flayer under most circumstances here. Obviously, we need some help from our top deck, but remember we always have Lurrus in hand, so keeping a good but high land count hand is not as bad as it would otherwise be, and we've drawn Blackmail. Sweet, okay. Not going to use it yet, though. It's Inquisition time. Opponent goes Island Expedition map. We take the remand. Okay, opponent just has all lands in hand, which admittedly is a little scary, but hey, Blackmail's going to be live. T3 Blackmail still going to hit no matter what. Too awesome. And we've drawn Goyf. I think I am playing Flayer over Goyf at this stage of the game. Opponent one got the missing Tron piece. Eyes of the Wizened, huh? How interesting. How very, very interesting, huh? Okay, trigger on the stack, we will fetch. Alright. I think I'm going to bin Scooze to diversify our types, and because we kind of have enough 2-drop threats, right? Another Inquisition I think I'm going to bin as well, just because, like, the Blackmail is not going to whiff, but the Inquisition might. Can leave Bob on top. None of this is like stuff I'm thrilled to see. Want to see like Rain of Tears probably. But we're doing some reasonable things here. So note that even though we're in a decent spot for a Blackmail relative to other discard spells in some ways, the opponent, even if they have only lands, can still kind of show us, yeah, they can still protect the Urza's mine if they wanted to, but they're showing us mine. it's possible they have another copy. Ah, they rewind it back so they don't have another copy, right? They have another copy of Tower. So they have duplicate towers, duplicate power plants. I'm probably supposed to take away Island in that case, right? Too bad we couldn't take him off Tron. Opponent's probably so confused. Blackmail, T3 Blackmail into the Eyes of the Wizened. What planet are we living on? And Grim Flayer is not exactly the most common card in Modern anyway, even though my namesake has received a boost from the Lurrus meta. Alright. Unfortunately, they seem to have had a payoff. So, you know, if we had had a Thoughtseize there, we would have just taken the payoff, but... Okay, it's quote-unquote only a Walking Ballista. That's still pretty bad, but at least it's something beatable, right? Dark Confidant. Yeah, that makes the top deck of Bob pretty bad, though. I'm not going to play the Bob out into the Ballista until we find a way to deal with it. So a 5/6 Goyf will have to be our consolation here. So I believe there are 3 unknowns in the opponent's hand, but don't quote me on that one. What did OP find here? Thoughtseer. Okay. Interesting one. Don't mind losing that Bob, that's for sure. As long as we can find a kill spell for Thoughtseer, that'll represent a positive exchange for us. Thirst for Knowledge. The opponent definitely having a real nice curve out this time. Much better than their game 1. And hey, they're still a Tron deck and they're on the play. They're keeping 7, you know. Even though it seemed like we were doing a lot of good things, and we still have been. You gotta remember, we're pretty unfavored in those regards. Collective Brutality. Not really a great one under the circumstances. We'll attack. They could do a small variety of interesting things here, but I'm kind of cool with most outcomes, and yeah, they just take it, right? They just take it. So... ugh. Yeah, this is why I said we only want, like, 2 Brutality, because right now we don't care at all about their permission, but Brutality is pretty embarrassing against their board. Our stuff is just so low toughness against that Ballista. That includes Lurrus. I'm going to play it cool for 1 turn. It's very awkward to do that because the longer we wait, the better their Ballista gets, the harder it becomes to beat. But it gives us a chance to just draw removal for it. We just draw removal for it, and then we can go Lurrus into Flayer, Lurrus into Scooze, whatever. Maybe drawing another land for Scooze changes things a little bit, too, to help it grow around the Ballista. Okay, another Thoughtseize. Okay, where's our Maelstrom Pulse? Where's our Maelstrom Pulse? That's what we need to draw right now. Oh, boy. At least we're not losing cards we actually wanted so much to these Thoughtknots, but yeah, opponents curve out pretty crazy, pretty good. OP doing the math on the clock, I suppose. Oof. Major oof. Okay. Well. We are in a whole lot of trouble. I guess we should be playing back the Skoos here, but we're now kind of reduced to playing defense behind our Goyf, which is a very bad spot to be in right now. Because our Lurrus and our Skoos are virtual goners. Is this like a spatial contortion or something? Do they have removal on top of the removal that Ballista represents? Because if so, it sure is. Wow. All right, then. I guess we're just gaining a life, but I don't think it matters much either way what we do. Looks like we're about done for unless we, unless they're just kind of breaking from here on out, we draw our pulse. Then it's Goyf versus Ballista, but Lurrus is not long for the world. And hey, even Goyf versus Ballista is actually not very good for us. But that would at least be the beginning of our, keeping pace with them. Don't know if this power plant is still in their hand or not. Once again, doesn't matter much. Opponent kind of tanking over some of these decisions, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 14, 15 mana. Maybe they're weighing up the odds of, how bad is it if they attack into me with their Thought Knots and they'll give us a card, but then Ballista can get big and finish off the Goyf. I mean, if they attack with Thought Knots, we have to take a block. We're just dead otherwise. And chips will fall where they may. They can put, 3 counters on Ballista this turn? Alright, so we're at 6, we've drawn Trophy. That's a thing. That's a card if we can draw another piece of removal, but we haven't. So, what do we do here? We can Trophy the Thought Knot, get another look at removal for Ballista, or we can Trophy the Ballista and we basically buy ourselves another turn. Which is virtually the same as getting another look, except we let them untap and they get another look first. So I guess it's better to Trophy the Thought Knots here. This does let them get another basic land, which we kind of took them off with the Blackmail, and then they can put another counter on Ballista, but those things are secondary to just us having removal on the top or dying. And also, concession incoming, also more of our removal spells would hit the Ballista than would hit Thought Knot, like Abrupt Decay there. So I think sequencing like that is correct, but wasn't good enough. So, well, I didn't really see anything in that game that made me want stuff that's in my sideboard, frankly. Didn't see them use the graveyard. Damping Sphere. Damping Sphere would be the major one to consider, but otherwise didn't see them use the graveyard. I don't know if Chalice is still in. I definitely feel vindicated in playing only 2 Brutality. Alright, let's get our Damping Spheres in, even though I kind of hate them against Blue Tron, because they can just, like, make land drops and curve out and interact, and then make their land drops and hardcast things naturally that still definitely can beat us. But I think at least 1 sphere for a Scooze is good. And what else do we want to do? It might be a little too flippant to cut a Brutality here. But based on that game, I kind of want to go back down to 1 Brutality. Whatever. Let's go for it. Pretty borderline decision there. Ooh. Man, what's up with these 5-landers? This is a worse 5-lander. No discard, no threat. I think we have to mulligan this one. Okay, this is a pretty good 6. When your Tron opponent keeps 7 all 3 games, man, that's not where we want to be. Alright, keep, and just going to bottom Urborg, try to operate off 2 lands. We want the green for Scooze, and we don't want to make their Dismember painless. Hence the bottoming of Urborg. What do they have? Gemstone Caverns? Whew. Okay. Exiling Talisman of Dominance. Well, this is going to make our discard better. We're going to lead on Inquisition, even though there is a small chance it could whiff. Still correct here, I think. Alright, map, Ballista, Contortion, Dismember. They got all the removal. Pretty easy taking map. Well, just running out that Ballista. Okay. Makes sense, I suppose. Well, nothing to it but to do it. I guess we're going to Thoughtseize. Thought Not Seer. Ooh. I think we have to take this removal. We've got to be able to stick Lurrus. And in that regard, I am going to take Spatial Contortion, just because Dismember is more painful, and realistically, both of them are killing everything we're going to play for the next little while. Okay, opponent hit the 3rd land. Really hope they don't just hit the 4th back-to-back runner lands for that. To turn on that Thought Knot to take away our trophy would be a bit of a disaster. Mishra's Bauble, huh? Well, I'm going to begin by bobbling the opponent to see whether they're in fact going to draw that land or not. Oh my god, of course, of course! Max punished for a sequence that I think is pretty correct. Like, in the face of their 2-lander with double removal and with an uncastable Thought Knot, and we've got creatures that if we can attrition our way through the removal, we'll be fine. Oof, that's rough. Okay. Alright, I guess we're just going to say go here. Feels bad, but... Okay, we've drawn Pithing Needle. Not very good. We can name Walking Ballista, but It's not really high on my list of priorities right now. Obviously having to give them the... Oh, wow, they're not running it out. Whew, boy. Okay. Huh. I think we leave that uncracked and... Nah, maybe without Fatal Push in the deck, that was incorrect. In any case, Pithing Needle here. Alright, now I think this is going to price them into running out the Thoughtseer, which we kind of need them to do at this point, but it's still... Oof. If they had just, like, not top-decked the 4th land right away, the 3rd and 4th land back-to-back, if they had just not done so, I really think our sequencing would be rewarded. I really think we'd be in pole position right now. As it is, I'm trying to kind of make them play out the Thoughtseer, but... You know, and even though we're behind on board, I think our life total is reasonable enough. But if they draw permission, that gives them permission, you know, pardon the pun, that gives them license to keep playing the draw-go game and kind of force us to make the first move, which we might not be able to do as profitably as we'd like, but you know, just running out the Skoos, holding up trophy is okay. Not sure what opponent's tanking for here on our end step with them tapped out, but here they are. Okay, they hit the 5th land. We're going to give them the 6th one at some point. Opponent just being very patient. And I mean, they're kind of taking their cues from us, right? So it does make sense. Well, there's that Urborg. We shuffled it back to our top. I mean, their life total's not the relevant thing right now, though, so... Drawing the 5th land is actually kind of fine overall. All right. We've got so many good draws here. Haven't necessarily seen them relative to, you know, how things looked at the beginning of this game, right? Okay, opponent still not running it out. Well, now we've got to go for it. Now we've got to go for Lurrus, see what happens here. If they drew another piece of removal or permission, that's going to be so tilting. It looks like they drew permission. Oh my goodness, they draw Remand. Ooh. Ooh, man. Opponent's draws have been something else. Opponent's draws really have been something else. We're drawing like Pithing Needle and Damping Sphere. These cards are just not that exciting in the context of what's going on right now. OP with an Expedition map. Yep. Alright, well, we are in danger of kind of getting soloed by a Walking Ballista, but at least it doesn't have reach, at least it hasn't grown, and I think we're supposed to remain disciplined with this trophy. The longer I do it, the weirder it feels, but I maintain that it does seem correct. And all of this is based on the known information of that Thoughtseize from the Mishra's Bauble way back when. And now that Lurrus is in our hand, I guess they're probably going to run it out. And we are priced into the trophy because we cannot outsize it with anything that we have access to. Alright, so we're about to draw. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? The suspense, OP. Come on. Come on. Show us what's up. Show us what we're going to draw. Maybe. Yes, no, maybe so. I guess technically they are choosing a card first and then putting the triggered ability on the stack, or maybe they have to put this ability on the stack first and they're trying to select a card. I don't know. Or maybe they're just double queuing. Who knows? Who knows? Well, this match 1 pairing against Blue Tron is coming down right to the wire, and there we go. Okay. And yeah, I think with a lot of... Ooh, there's Reign of Tears. I guess they still take Lurrus, right? Depends on what that last card in their hand is, but yeah, they take Lurrus. Okay. Oh, another Damping Sphere, dude. Dude, we're just gonna lose to the Ballista? I guess I'm hitting a tower, but it's almost better argument for hitting an island there. And this is what I mean about the static hate pieces. Like, I think if they're in our deck, we're supposed to bring them in here. Like, if not for matchups like this, then when? But, and we are drawing an unusual amount of them, don't get me wrong. But this is why mid-range decks can often ill-afford static hate pieces, or if we want them, they should be doing something unique. That's been my stance for a long time. Like, you can't really get what Ashiok brings to the table anywhere else. So even though Ashiok's kind of a static hate piece, still probably the correct thing to do to, you know, to include that in your deck, of course, if you're not on Lurrus. Academy Ruins, okay. Thoughtseize. Oh, can we even afford to cast that? We're just losing this in a really frustrating way. Total non-compliance from our deck. Kind of getting max punished by the opponent's top decks, including this Thirst for Knowledge that they just ripped. They never stopped gassing out. Alright. Think we should probably... we should probably just concede, but technically with Thoughtseize plus a good top deck, we could still be competitive here. But I don't know if I can see us beating this Academy Ruins. We have 1 Spellbomb in the deck, and we kind of need to draw probably something that's not Spellbomb, right? Thought Not Seer. Okay. Again, they're gassing out like crazy, my friends. We draw a trophy. Well, once again, we're in the exact same spot as we were in Game 2, where I think we have to trophy 1 right now. It should probably be the Thoughtseer. For all the reasons we went over last time. So it's a decent top deck. We'll see if it leads us anywhere. What, they have another Remand? Oh my goodness, they have another Remand. Now we have to, because of our own Damping Sphere, tap fully out to trophy here. Which we have to before they get to untap and draw a third Remand, right? Okay, well, Scavenging Ooze. If they have nothing at all, in theory, might just keep us in the game. They're repealing the Pithing Needle. Okay, another reason the static hate piece is no good. It's not no good, but these are the fatal flaws of the deck. Or rather of the cards like that as they fit into our deck. So it's unfortunate because the hate pieces are spice and the hate pieces are interesting and always worth keeping around in the maybe board. But right there, unfortunately, we saw a pretty shining example of why they're not as stock as other things. And they can be the right meta call, and they can be the right call when you have restrictions on your deck like we do with Lurrus, but yeah. We definitely got kind of max punished there for leaning on them. They didn't do enough. And the opponent just drawing what they needed, never stopping the value train, never stopping the good top decks. And now we're in a Lurrus Mirror, and on the play, it's an okay keep. We will keep it. It's not a very exciting hand, but again, justifiable on the play. And, you know, to be fair, we got kind of handed a free win in Game 1, Round 1 against Blue Tron. So, as always, it's just the Blue Tron, or the Tron thing in general, where your fate is not so much in your hands, right? Oh boy. Oh boy, we're against Lurrus Hardened Scales. I really wish our trophy was an Abrupt Decay for that Scales. That would be the snap play. As it is, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Our lands are awkward here too, because I kind of want to fetch just to grow the Goyf if we are just jamming a Goyf, but I don't really want to get basic Swamp since I already have Urborg. That said, we already do have 2 other green sources, so I guess I'm just doing it. Certainly don't want to fetch and shock needlessly in this matchup. And I also can't bring myself to trophy the Scales right away. Like, it just unlocks it just makes their early progression so much better. And, you know, it's possible that we will come to regret this, but I think we kind of need to draw more removal either way to have a chance in this game. Okay, Thoughtseize. Definitely starting there. Hangerback Walker, Walking Ballista. Just going to take the value of Walker away here. Phyrexia's Core and Llanowar Reborn. Got it. Do they play a basic Plains? Because that's another reason that trophying gets worse, is because right now they cannot cast Lurrus, but if we give them the land, they can. So I think we're just supposed to play another Goyf, try to aggro them out here. I've not played against this deck, by the way. Have not played against Lurrus Hardened Scales ever. And I haven't played against Hardened Scales in a long time, because it was out of the meta ever since Mox Opal got banned. Just another land, eh? Just another land. Our Urborg will also allow them to cast Lurrus. I think we're supposed to kind of do everything we can not to give them that option unless we have to, right? So I'm thinking about just playing my Ballista, trading it for their Ballista. They'll get to ping us, but I think that's okay. Before they get to do things with Llanowar Reborn. Another thing to do is play the Ballista and just ping the Servo and attack. But I think I'm going to be more aggressive with our Ballista here. It is pretty nice given our lack of good interaction here. Like, Trophy and Thoughtseize are good, but way worse than, like, Inquisition and Decay would have been, and Fatal Push would have been and stuff. But if we are on a hand where we don't have the best interaction and or we don't have as much interaction as we would really like, it's really nice to be on the play, really nice to have a double Goyf progression. That's really what's giving us a pretty okay shot in this game, as far as I would say. All right, OP just jumping with a Servo, going to 10. We've got lethal on the field if we trophy anything. If we trophy the Hardened Scales, we have overwhelmingly lethal. The Ozolith. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those on Ozolith. Pretty wild. Especially with Lurrus just waiting in the wings. Mishra's Bauble, A. I really just want to draw removal, but we could bauble ourselves to see if we're going to draw removal, or we could bauble the opponent for more info. I'm going to bauble the opponent here. I'm going to draw land. Alright, good to know. I think we're just going to keep the pedal to the metal here. If they assign a multi-block, we can trophy something. Alright, they just take it. That's kind of what I suspected they would do. Unfortunately, I think we need to play out our Urborg, even though it's going to let them cast Lurrus. Them casting Lurrus is not as big a deal right now as it might otherwise be. We've got to be able to hold up trophy this turn, I think, and also we want to just keep going wide. Of course, we get to do Bauble loops this way. We've drawn another Bauble. All right, not really it, but... Okay, this counter transfer happens at the beginning of combat on their turn, if the Ozolith has counters. Okay. Hardened skills is always tricky to play around. Here comes the Walker, I guess. The Ballista. All right. Okay, so there's one unknown in their hand. Alright, so I'm definitely trophying something now. It probably just has to be Lurrus because it doesn't look like we're going to put lethal together necessarily. Just got to stop their value and we'll be able to outgrind them that way. And because we're doing this, I'm going to trophy first. Then after they shuffle, I will Bauble them for information. Metallic Mimic on top. Okay, Blackmail is our draw. I guess we're going to use it. Should we be casting our Walking Ballista first, though? Just in case, like, in response to the Blackmail, they decide to Ballista the Lurrus? Probably. X can't be greater than 1. Right, so this doesn't let us do that. You know, in that case, the reach of Ballista is still pretty good, though. I think I'm still going to buy back the Ballista. As awkward as it is, as mana inefficient as it is, okay, we Blackmail away their Razor Verge Thicket. So they've got the Metallic Mimic coming off the top. Time to just ship in with the Goyfs, right? You know, maybe if we all... maybe if we all had attacked, that actually would have been better. But they could have chumped with Ballista, then shot something. Like shot an attacking Lurrus, for example. Maybe you didn't think about that one closely enough. It's been a complicated game already, and round 1 was really long. They're firing up Yawgmoth Nexus. That is interesting. So do we shoot the Nexus with this on the stack? I think we probably do. And then, even though I know that they're about to draw Metallic Mimic, I'm gonna Bauble now, just in case we draw instant speed removal, basically. That we can, like, use on their upkeep. No, we haven't. Okay. Probably doesn't matter much, but that was the reasoning there. Obviously, it would have been nice to hit the Ballista before they got to go to their main phase and use the Ozolith and everything else. 7/7 Walking Ballista. 3/3 Servo. Hopefully our pressure is still enough. But we might need to draw another piece of removal. Opponent could put us at a virtual 1 with this attack. I think we're supposed to take it. Force them to use a couple pings on Lurrus. So we're no longer at a virtual 1, but we're still pretty low. We've drawn Dead Weight. But we are just losing to the Ozolith here. Yeah, I guess we don't have them. Once again, kind of needed to draw Maelstrom Pulse, I guess. Losing to the Ozolith in a major, major way. So they get to make Ballista 9/9. We can go to 11 life with Scooze. They can also put one counter naturally on Ballista. Yeah, Hardened Scales is a very, very tricky deck. Let's see what they top decked. Phyrexia's Core. Sacking. Yep. Okay, okay. So way back when they got the Ballista back off of the Lurrus, I was a little bit surprised. honestly. I was kind of expecting the Hangerback Walker for the grindy value. Turns out that was definitely the right play from the opponent. I don't know if I could have done anything differently there, really. Obviously feels really bad to lose that one, considering how we lost round 1 and how, far ahead we were in most stages of this game, but just, again, didn't have the good efficient removal early on, really. Extinction Event. Is this something that should be in against them? I don't know, but I'm going to play it. Seems fine. Don't know about Pithing Needle here. Shadow Spear, Pithing Needle seem okay. But we kind of got a lot to do. We kind of got a good main deck already. I think leaving in 1 Nihil Spellbomb is even fine. Probably trimming a couple bobs even on the play. Might cut Blackmail too. Rather have Shadow Spear or Pithing Needle. I mean, probably Pithing Needle, but could even see playing another Spellbomb above these things, and I am still very skeptical in general of the static hate piece in a matchup like this. But I think this configuration is at least reasonable. On the draw, we might cut a 3rd or even a 4th Bob if we take him to game 3, so there is that. This is another hand that, I'm going to keep this one for sure. It's another one that does not have the density of interaction that we wish it did, but it's a good proactive on-the-play hand. No doubt about that. And Fatal Push is definitely more efficient than Trophy was last time, but much less flexible. Now we don't even have the option to deal with the turn 1 Hardened skills like we did last game. Which they have. Alrighty, well, we're just risking the absolute wrath of Walking Ballista here by playing out these X1s, but that's where we're at. This hand would be a disaster on the play against an opponent that kept 7 with T1 skills. Okay, they have another land and another skills and an Arcbound Worker. Well, we're going to push that before they have a modular trigger, almost certainly, or a modular target, rather. Collective Brutality. Awkward. Yep, I mean, even as bad as it is, compared to most of their other threats, still just pushing. Just going to get the Goyf down here. Just go in full proactivity mode and really, really hoping we draw some more interaction. You're going to see 2 cards per turn. Brutality is not going to kill much against double Hardened skills. Opponent having to kick things off with the Stirrings, though. I think that's probably good news for us. They find and deploy a Brushland. And they found another artifact. It's Hangerback Walker. That's a very good stabilizer. Drawn Abrupt Decay. And a 4th land. So some good finds off of Bob. But how best to use them? Just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and decay the Walker before it can get any bigger, but that doesn't strike me as correct, honestly. One maneuver here might be to start working toward level 8 with Hexdrinker, but I'm kind of hesitant to put any levels on it without getting it at least to level 3, so that it doesn't get totally blown out by a Walking Ballista, or other removal for that matter. And if we put it to level 3, then we're not casting any spells this turn, which is pretty bad. But honestly, I'm kinda not hating that, because then we can just put it to level 8 next turn. We have 2 good attacks with Hexy and Goyf this way. I think we're supposed to kind of go shields down here and do that. But having drawn Abrupt Decay, it feels very unconventional. Might as well make this attack first without showing them whether or not we have discard or push or something. We get the block out of them. Okay. I think that's a pretty good outcome, all things considered. Obviously, it's a great value for the OP, but... Opponent with another Stirrings. Again, kind of good news for us that they need to spend at least 1 mana doing this. And they find Arcbound Ravager. This card's always such a big problem. Oh, and they have the land, and they have the 1-drop. Yeah, that's real bad. That's real bad. Okay. They might just have... Did they just have lethal here? It may well be. Yep. If only we had a Slaughter Pact. Alright guys, well we're kind of getting crushed today. Not really... I don't think much we can do about some of this stuff. I definitely don't regret that Hexdrinker play there. Like, just playing scared, holding back with Abrupt Decay seems very wrong there, given the texture of the game, given the contents of our hand. Again, you know, if we had had a discard spell, if we had had the opponent with a little less of a nut draw, those would be different circumstances, but here I think making them have something is totally fine. But, oh boy, it's one of these leagues, huh? Well, I haven't gone negative yet with the BGX Lurrus League. This is looking like it's going to be the first one, though. We need to win out. We need to win out here with 3 straight wins. Can we do it to go positive and cash the league? Not on the evidence of this so far, but we'll give it a shot. This looks like a fine opening hand. It's got more interaction than we've seen so far in any opener. So, for that reason alone, I like it. We'll keep. I really, truly hate playing Lurrus Mirrors, even if they're, you know, like, bringing back a deck I don't hate, like Hardened Scales. I just hate it. I hate everything about it. Not everything about it, that's an exaggeration, but... I don't like Lurrus Mirrors. I guess that's what I was really getting at. I hate how every deck now has recursive properties. That is not how Magic should be, in my view. That's not how Modern should be. A deck like Hardened Scales in the past never had recursive properties. Think of another deck like Bogle's. It really lends a homogenizing feel to everything, and that is not... That's not a good thing for Modern, among many other reasons to dislike the companion meta. I know a lot of you disagree, but I know more of you do agree, right? We're just drawing only lands, so you hate to see that. I guess we run out fetch land here and say go. That way, if we need to decay, we can decay. If we want to spellbomb, we can spellbomb. If we want to just do nothing, we can... do nothing and fetch painlessly. Opponent, I guess I'm Jund Shadow with Street Raves, but with nothing. No discard, no anything else. They might have Shadows rotting in hand. Do we want to cantrip? I'm going to. And we draw just yet another land. So I guess the responsible thing to do is to... Oh, is opponent going to K-Command? Oh my god, we're against Living End. Holy crap, dude. Get this crap out of here. We run into an unplayable deck in the O2 bracket, and we're just going to lose to it, because I think it's literally the worst matchup that a BGX deck has. And, you know, they've got the ability to play around even our... We were lucky enough to find our main deck Spellbomb, and they can just play around it anyway. Living End. Okay, this is just a league we're not meant to thrive in. What else can you say? What else can you say? We draw... I mean... Yeah, we'll cast a Blackmail, I guess. Whatever. Whatever. This is just nonsense. This league is just nonsensical. You know, Lurrus might be better than regular rock. Titanoth Rex, that's a new one. Well, I don't know what to do. I'll take that. I think I'm supposed to escalate here. Actually. We're going to look at their hand. And maybe I could have sequenced in the reverse order, actually. But again, these things don't really matter. We're trying to have like Abrupt Decays and Collective Brutalities against our Living End opponent, which is just a great way to lose, right? But I think this is the best we can do, is like maybe take away the prospect of them getting another Living End and then stabilizing perhaps behind Lurrus looping Spellbomb, but more likely we need more than that because the 3/4 Swamp Walks are just going to beat us down. Okay. We knew that it would at least take away the Living End, which is not especially irrelevant, right? But... they hardcast the Simian Guide. Their hand is Forest and Titanoth Rex. They drew Blackcleave Cliffs for turn. All right, and we draw another land. We draw another land. Oh, exciting. All right, time for Lurrus. Whenever you cycle, put a trample counter on target creature you control. Yes. So we're going to get hit for 10 here. 6 of it's unblockable. Or excuse me, 8 here, 6 of it's unblockable. I can't really bring myself to trade Lurrus with a Simian Guide. I don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to just try to race back with lifelink plus our clock, and we can always decay the Simian Guide if we have nothing better to do. Draw Dark Confidant. Let's get our hit in first, right? Oh my god, we can trip into... Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Another land. No prizes, my friends, for guessing that one. But at least we got the Spellbomb loop, which is incredibly good. And deciding whether we'd rather play Dark Confidant here or Abrupt Decay. Guess we're supposed to hold up Abrupt Decay, right? Could also Spellbomb again. That'd be a really aggressive play, though. I think we're just going to hold up Decay and... probably be priced into cracking Spellbomb again, just desperately looking for action that's relevant, you know, stuff that can kill Street Wraiths, a big body to come down and help race, things like this. Scavenging Ooze, obviously, is a 3 of in our deck. Would be great. We got some tools. The matchup is still horrible, though. But we got some tools. We'll see you later. Ape Spirit. Okay, so unless the opponent hard casts another creature, or somehow removes Lurrus, we're not dead next turn, due to the lifelink. But they're on 6 mana, so I guess something's getting hard cast. Desert Ceradon, a good old 6/4. Alright, well, we're seeing a million cards. Let's find something relevant. We found Hexdrinker and a land. This stuff is not very relevant, I hate to say. I hate to say it's not that relevant, but that's the truth. Okay, so buying back Spellbomb and cracking it has got to be the way forward. Like, yes, we technically want all the mana we can muster for Hexdrinker, but that's not really what the game's about right now. Love to find just something that can kill Desert Ceradon right now. We found Skooz. Okay, after we've spellbombed the graveyard away a bunch of times. The problem is we're just dead on board because or we have to throw away Lurrus as a blocker. Because we cannot lifelink this turn. So with that in mind, I guess we're supposed to play Blooming Marsh, Hexdrinker, Scavenging Ooze, say go, chump with Lurrus, go to 1. We're obviously just probably going to die, but it does give us the highest percentage of outs, I suppose. Losing to the Street Raves and the hardcast Desert Ceradon. And they had a pretty terrible living end progression, right? And they don't even attack with Ceradon. I guess we should have suicided in with Lurrus, but we're obviously just dead. But yeah, that was a misplay at the end there from me. What are you going to do? Not really a winnable situation, and not really a winnable matchup, almost certainly. We've got very little tech in the sideboard for this matchup, and that's that's how it should be. This isn't really anywhere in the meta. I think there's a couple different approaches to this matchup. Damping Sphere against Cascade does something. Slows down their combo. Extinction Event is a potentially good cleanup card, but probably not as good as just something like Damnation would be, although it prevents subsequent living ends from being as good because it's an exile effect. Brutality just to take away the Cascade spells. So these are things that are all interesting. Torpor Orb will shut off some of their hate cards, but I don't know if that's what we want. I don't know. Yeah, we're probably getting too far into the weeds with a lot of that stuff. But we have a lot of bad cards like Deadweight, Fatal Push, Abrupt Decay are all pretty dead. So let's begin by bringing in the stuff we definitely want. And that does still leave us with some slots, and I think playing a Reign of Tears on the play is actually reasonable, simply because the matchup is so bad that we kind of have to get lucky to win, and one way to get lucky is for them to have not enough lands to function. So with that in mind, am going to play a Reign of Tears with the remaining slots on the play. And on the draw, if we manage miraculously to go to game 3, I will probably side those back out, right? Hey, we got Reign of Tears in the opener. We're curving out. We got Blackmail into Walking Ballista into Reign of Tears. GG. This is like the budget bin version of Thoughtseize Goyf Liliana, right? This is kind of a hilarious opening 7, you have to say. I'll keep it. We don't have Grave Hate, but I'm gonna win the game because they're gonna keep a 1-lander because they don't want to mulligan against the attrition deck, and we're gonna get him with Reign of Tears and beatdowns with Walking Ballista. That's what we're gonna do. Blackmail is terrible though, because they're obviously just gonna, unless they like mulligan to 4, then maybe Blackmail is gonna be good. But if they keep 7, blackmailing is legitimately so bad. Against Living End, and obviously they do keep 7. I'm not going to cast Blackmail. I don't think we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to save it for a more opportune time. Like, we might... One argument for casting it is that they're just, like, have 3 lands and they show us 1. And then they don't know about our Reign of Tears plan, but I truly think they're probably just going to show us 3 cycling creatures, and that's just going to be really bad. Like, that can happen sometimes when you have a traditional discard spell too, but at least if they have a spell you want to take, you can take it. Scavenging Ooze, Tarmogoyf, these are some good finds. I'm going to go with the Skoos, which is going to put pressure on them to try to combo off ASAP, and then hopefully we can capitalize on that with delaying them with the Reign of Tears and picking up the pieces after the fact. They don't know that our Skoos isn't going to be that effective either because we only have 1 green land. Remember, opponents con kind of like a turbo combo version of this, so they could combo off here on turn 2, especially if they have Street Raves, like they're just showing us. Land into Simian Spirit Guide into this Violent Outburst. They just concede. Oh, yeah. We did it, guys. We gotta win against Living End. Skoos OP. Skoos OP. Hey, you know what? Maybe they were on a 1-lander, too. Doesn't that look like they might have been on a 1-lander? So Reign of Tears would have really slammed the door. That said, I think I'm probably taking them out on the draw. I don't know how a trophy came out. These trophies should be in. If they have like a relatively weak combo, just beat their hardcast stuff. I guess I grabbed one while I was trying to grab my decays, right? So, trophy back in further cements my decision to move away from Reign of Tears. Actually, you know what? I think Engineered Explosives is just unplayable here too. So we do have 3 slots again. So I should have had the EE out the trophy, and I didn't notice the EE, but I accidentally just misclicked to get the trophy out of there. So do we want to keep hoping they stumble and just put our Reign of Tears back in? I'm just so low on the idea of playing like Damping Spheres and like a Torpor Orb to maybe protect the Damping Sphere from whatever that card is, Ingot Cure. It just seems so bad, right? Pithing Needle naming like a cycling ability or a Simian Spirit Guide. No, I can't even do that. I'm just going to play with Reign of Tears, man. They might just combo off turn 3 with our Reign of Tears. Not even castable yet, but we got to hope for the stumble, right? That's what we're hoping for. It's funny because like this matchup is so bad that and we're doing so bad in the league that the pressure is just totally off. It's like, yeah, we'll just wing it here, and there's something liberating about that, right? You got to have really bad leagues every now and then. I don't think our opponents have mulliganed once this entire league, and given the matchups we're against, we really need them to. Once again, the turn 1 Blackmail is a disaster. I think we actually are supposed to mulligan this hand, even though it looks functional. It just does nothing against Living End. Let's find Grave Hate. Let's mulligan. No Grave Hate, but it has an Inquisition, so I guess I can keep that, but... but I don't really like our odds, my friends. I really, really don't. Assuming we draw something non-relevant turn 1, I think I might just Fetch Shock with Catacombs T1 just to get as much green online as early as possible. Hoping to draw a Scooze by T2 if we don't draw other things. Nihil Spellbomb is our best card in this matchup. We've drawn Hexdrinker. Yeah, you know, as tempting as that pressure is, I think we're just going to Inquisition here. Being mostly sarcastic about the temptation of the pressure, right? Because we already have a bunch of other threats that pressure fine, but Living End just does not care about the axis on which we're trying to operate, right? Okay. Hey, at least opponent doesn't have green mana up for Veil of Summer. I don't know if Living End decks play Veil of Summer, but that would be... That would... Oh, with Inquisition. Alright, good times. Oh boy. And you might think this is a good thing, but it's really not, because they have 3 1-mana cycling creatures in hand. So they just... You're going to see as many new cards as they realistically want to see. And by the time they have their third turn, they might have a full graveyard and the combo all rolled up. Okay, I think I'm going to play Dark Confidant here. We just want to exploit the potential fail rate of their deck by not finding a Cascade spell. And assuming that... we want to give ourselves the highest chance of digging for a Nihil Spellbomb. Ah, they found Desert Ceradon. They show us something we didn't know about. Cleverly playing around Maelstrom Pulse off of a resolved Living End. Maybe playing around Surgical Extraction, too. Well, they're letting Bob untap, and we just find land Bauble. Okay. Alright. I wish we had literal anything going on right now. I wish we had literal, actual anything going on. Let's bauble the opponent, see what they're about to draw. Dryad Arbor. Okay, well, I guess we're supposed to keep assuming that they're going to fail to combo off. So to that end, like, playing Goyf into Hexdrinker is actually pretty reasonable because it's the biggest clock and because it lets us go next turn Lurrus into Hexdrinker if they combo off. But a 3-2 and a 2-1 are just going to get completely destroyed by their board. So the other option would be, and it's not as good of pressure, but the other option would be to just see more cards. Like, we'll see 3 new cards, 4 new cards if we get to untap with Bob, and just keep trying to find a Nihil Spellbomb, and that option is Lurrus into Bauble right now. I think I'm going to take it because, like, we can... It's kind of 6-1, half dozen of the other either way. And I think I'd rather put my faith in my own ability to dig rather than the opponent to totally brick forever. But kind of sucks that we just haven't had any graveyard hate as part of our progression here. Know that's stating the obvious, but I don't know what the opponent's up to here. With Bauble on the stack. What's going on? I don't think Living End's going to counter the Mishra's Bauble here, but I could be mistaken. Hope you guys are having fun anyway, despite us getting shellacked here. Dan, I hope you're having fun, my friend. We are unfortunately on the receiving end of some very bad matchups and some pretty good variants from the opponents. I think our deck's looking okay. The spice is not really shining yet, but you can see glimmers of good potential for it. But the spice isn't really shining yet. But what's really the problem is we're against opponents on unfavorable matchups for us that are just keeping 7s and drawing well. And they're shocking in here to cycle at least one more time. Yep, there it is. I think they shuffled away that Dryad Arbor before they drew it. So let's close that out. They are going to draw Beast Within. And we drew Nihil Spellbomb. Okay. No combo one time. No combo one turn. There's a Blooming Marsh. Oh, they have it. No, they're Beast Withinning the Bob. Okay. All right, guys. And they chose to Beast Within the Bob instead of the Lurrus, which means we just get to play the Spellbomb, buy it back. Life is good. Life is good. And they left us with a 3/3. Oh, baby. All right. So how do we not throw this advantage away? That's probably... We don't throw it away by not overextending, right? Hey, that's the concession. Oh, we did the unthinkable. We beat Living End. That is a moral victory for this league. And hey, it's the start of our comeback, guys. What do you think? We're 1-2. We're doing. We're on the board, unlikely fashion, but on the board nevertheless. That's a fun one. And yeah, I will see you for round 4. Got to get up for just one moment. Okay, my friends, we are back. We're back. We're back in the saddle again, taking a match off of Living End somehow. You're obviously getting pretty lucky there to fade the combo for that long, and then we finally found our Spellbomb. Winning the die roll is nice, and it's another like really threat-dense hand that really wants to be on the play, so I'm going to keep it. And we're going to lead on the Hexy. We've been seeing this one of Hexdrinker a fair amount. It is a nice proactive thing to do on turn 1 that sometimes lines up well, sometimes doesn't, and opponent is sometimes on Eldrazi Tron. Okay, nothing matters anymore, everything sucks. Eldrazi Tron. Oh man. The matchups in this league. We got Tron, Scales, Living End, Eldrazi Tron. Wow. Hard to think of a worse gauntlet for BG the Rock. Even a Lurrus build. Not really wanting to see any of that noise, right? But that is what it is. Not much we can do about it. We're definitely doing something proactive here, and I'm going to choose to go Bauble Overgrown. If they have another E-Temple and a Thought-Knot Seer, that's going to suck, and that would have been one reason to have kept Fatal Push up and the Fetch Land up, but we definitely can't do that. They have Dismember for Bob. All right. They do have the second temple. Do they have Thought-Knot Seer? Obviously they do. Yeah, they keep 7 with this. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? I guess our hope is that they don't have much of a follow-up. Like, if they have a really good follow-up, we're just going to lose. But so they take our Fatal Push. Makes sense. I think I'm going to make the judgment call here of just sinking everything we've got into Hexy. trying to race or forcing the trade. I think the trade's good for us. Obviously, the draw of another Fatal Push there would have been the dream. Push the Thought-Knot Seer, draw a card, play the Goyf. This is Walking Ballista looking very, very underwhelming so far in the league. Now they take the trade. I don't know if that's good or bad for us, right? Oh, it's bad that we hit a land off of it, right? But this gives us, you know, if they do have a bit of a reprieve, they give us a bit of a reprieve in their curve out. We can go Lurrus into Hexy. Never mind, they go Chalice on 1. And we promptly draw a 1-drop. Oh, man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a world. So, I mean, it's more mana efficient to play Walking Ballista on 2, but it's also just bad. Like, we just have to have a very underwhelming turn of Tarmogoyf go, I guess. So many good... You know, our opponents are curving out really well this league, but they're also affording us spots where if our draws had been more cohesive, or just more powerful, we could really exploit the gaps that we've created by, you know, for example, forcing a trade with a Thought-Knot Seer, or with some of the interaction that we've had. Hey, opponent with another TKS. Joke's on you, our hand doesn't do anything. So, much like in Game 1, you know, this could be okay for us if we can draw removal in a prompt manner. I'm going to fetch to thin out, specifically because Fatal Push is shut off right now, so keeping that around for Revolt doesn't make any sense. Grim Flayer, eh? Well, that's a thing, but I think I'm just going to go Lurrus into Bob. Pretty unfortunate that our Goyf is only a 3-4. It should usually be significantly bigger in this matchup. I think 4-5 is like a very, very reasonable baseline, assuming they're not playing any graveyard hate. So you hate to see that. Our position would actually be pretty good if the Goyf had just been a 4-5 this whole time, but you can't have it all. Sometimes you can't have, you can't even have much. But nevertheless, you know, we're in a bad matchup, and we've had a lot of less than ideal things happen, and we're still in it. Maybe until the opponent plays Karn the Great Creator. That's going to be a problem, unless we can get rid of this Thought-Knot right now. Gotta get rid of the Thought-Knot right now. You know what we can do is just cast Inquisition into the Chalice. Never mind, because the opponent tutored up Tormod's Crypt. Okay. But will they feel priced into doing it main phase? They won't. They won't. Alright. Show us the love, Bobby boy. Come on. Assassin's Trophy. That's a card. We'll take it. Yeah, let's just begin by trophying the Thought-Knot. Giving them a land really sucks, but let's hope it doesn't come back to bite us too hard. I'm going to send Lurrus at Karn and the other two at the opponent. We draw Scooze, all right. I think I'm playing Scooze over the second Bob or the Flayer here, but that's a real toss-up. But I'm just looking for basically the optimum ability to push damage across while also potentially outsizing blockers. So, you know, in many spots like this, Scooze is actually a pretty reasonable card against Eldrazi Tron, even though it's embarrassing in a lot of other windows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We just gave the opponent the 6th land, and then they had the 7th. So this could be pretty scary, but they only have 2 cards left in hand. They've got to have something. I was a little bit worried about Blast Zone. They don't have that. They might have some 1-drops, at least stuff like Map, maybe Shut Off by Chalice. Opponent with a Reality Smasher, sure. That's a big boy. The opponent competes over our Skooz activation. Okay. That's obviously very good for us in a couple different ways, but maybe they had to. We just draw more threats. That's so awkward, though. But, I mean, pretty clearly just shoving, right? We could maybe not shove with Lurrus. Yeah, we're probably supposed to not shove with Lurrus, because they can block him and stay alive? Nah, yeah, they can, because we only have 1 thing in the graveyard. But if we main phase Inquisition and then attack with all, Goyf becoming 4 means they have to block the Goyf. And then we can shove with everything. Unless they have removal in hand, but the removal would be Dismember, which is going to be bad at this stage of the game anyway. So I think we are actually supposed to spend 1 mana to effectively put a +1/+1 counter on this Tarmogoyf. Because, yeah, then they block, if they block the Lurrus, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're dead to our Ooze activation plus everything else connecting. Okay. Yep. I'm not giving them credit for like a main deck spatial contortion or something like that. If they have it, we get blown out, but we can still just like play 2 threats and still hopefully win. But now the idea here is they have to block the Goyf. They'll still go to a nice low life total. And then we get to keep our Lurrus around, replay the Goyf from the yard. Also play something else from hand, which I guess is going to be Grim Flayer. Gotta get my boy a little game time here. Alright, no Blast Zone. Okay, that's the game. Okay, so Eldrazi Tron experiencing a fail rate, like a lot of these decks will. Love to see that. Hate to see the matchup. Love to get the win. Don't care how we get it. Damping Sphere, Rain of Tears are not as good as you might think they are. I actually think I'm going to play Extinction Event here. We're already like not playing for much in this league, and we're here to test cards, so definitely running Extinction Event, if nothing else for that reason. But I think it's a good card in the matchup anyway. At least has the potential to be. Decay's a maybe. I mean, we're still going to probably play D-Sphere and Rain of Tears, even though I don't think they're great. I'm similarly skeptical of Pithing Needle, as I have been for the other matchups I've brought it in or considered bringing it in. I think it might be a little bit more important here, though, because they play Planeswalkers and Walking Ballista and Expedition Map. There is a lot of targets for it. Let's figure out what we don't want. We don't want Spellbomb. We don't want Dead Weight. Historically, you can trim a couple Inquisitions, and it's pretty fine against E-Tron. I guess we're supposed to leave in Blackmail. Like, taking a land is cool. Brutality can go. Ballista can go. I don't know if we want EE or not. It's not going to do much. Let's bring in all these cards. We're going to cut EE. It does a couple things that we could be interested in, but I think we cut it. And then we just need to make one more cut, so this is pretty reasonable. Should probably be a threat. And I guess we can cut one of our 4 Dark Confidants on the draw easily enough. This is a bit of a liability against a fast, aggressive progression and against Walking Ballista, both much more so on the play. When the opponent's on the play, that is. Thoughtseize, Bauble, Rain of Tears. This is an okay hand. Again, it's not as good as it looks because sometimes Rain of Tears won't get us there, or won't be that impactful. And we don't have a threat, which we really need. But I am going to definitely keep it. Our opponent's non-mulling streak continues. Ooh, Extinction Event. Okay. So we're going to bauble the opponent for more info, then we're going to resolve our Thoughtseize. They're going to draw Blast Zone, okay, good to know about, but we should resolve this with Extinction Event in mind. They have Karn, they have Chalice, they have Map, number 2, and they have Wormcoil Engine. Well, we can beat Wormcoil Engine with an Extinction Event. I think I'm just supposed to take Karn the Great Creator here. Could also take Chalice, but I'm not going to. Obviously, Wormcoil's a really hard card for us to beat, but Extinction Event just naming... Like, if we don't have our own threats by then, we can just trade 1 for 1 with the Wormcoil, which is all you can ever ask for. Opponent does go for the Chalice, so their own map is locked out. We have nothing locked out. That's great for us. Obviously, pretty awesome. Once again, I think we should play Urborg at kind of the last possible moment here. Because they are a dismembered deck, so here's my Bobby. Opponent makes a Walking Ballista, trades it with Bob, and then they'll play that Blast Zone, and we still know their whole hand. And we're going to get to Rain of Tears something. I guess it should be the Blast Zone, right? But are we supposed to wait a turn on that and just do the Lurrus Bauble thing right now? Nah, you know, I think I'm just gonna Stone Rain the opponent first. Seems really good in light of their board in hand. But they just rip Urza's Power Plant. Holy moly. Talk about getting punished for it. Right? But it's okay, because we just get to... well, we can Extinction Event the Wormcoil away. But that risks leaving them with Tron and them top decking a different payoff. So in some ways the safe thing to do is to just trophy. And we could trophy and also play Grim Flayer. Which I guess is probably better. But it's definitely tough. I'm not even so sure that it's better, though. The Lurrus loop is pretty awesome in its own right. You know, it's a judgment call, for sure, but I think I'm actually going to go with the Lurrus. Just hope to fade more payoffs besides that Wormcoil. Like, if we trophy away a land, we're starting to give them... I'm going to bauble myself to see whether or not we want what's on the top of our deck. Verdant Catacombs. Nah, I'm going to fetch that away. Alright. So opponent gets to go make the Tron land, then hopefully they just slam Wurmcoil, and we get to Extinction Event, 1-for-1 the Wurmcoil. And then we have to fade them having a payoff for 1 turn before we trophy them back off of Tron. They found another Urza's Tower. Annoyingly, we've drawn 2 1-drops in the face of their Chalice on 1. Let's Bauble the opponent. They're about to draw another land. Okay. First time ever casting Extinction Event. Its name Even. See you later, Wurmcoil Engine. Feels good, man. Feels good. Now, we're doing a lot of good stuff, but it's all very dirtily. That's our big problem. We just connected for the first time, and it was our turn 5, their turn 6. And they play another Blast Zone, and they rip it. Okay, so at least we know that it's like all lands all the time in their hand. Right? Or what is... One of these Urza's lands, I guess, is not in their hand. Anyway, we're just ripping only lands, which is not good. It's not good. I guess it's time to crack Peatland. Probably play the Bob. And then trophy away them off of Tron. But if we're going to do that, we really need to know which Tron land is not in their hand. So let's go back and see what they played Urza's Mine. So I think the Mine is not in their hand. But we should be absolutely sure, right? So they play Tower, Map. They revealed Tower, Map, Wurmcoil, Chalice. Okay. I don't want to make you guys sit through this. I think they played the Mine. Either way, let's crack the Peatland. Fatal Push. Get our Bobby back. Smack him with the Lurrus. We could also hit the Blast Zone with this trophy and just, like, try to really fade a payoff. I don't think we're supposed to do that. I think we're supposed to break up Tron. We have other forms of advantage with Bob. But we cannot beat most of their payoffs with our hand and our board. So I'm going to break up Tron instead. And they also will have to Stone Rain themselves with a Blast Zone, which is good for us after we've broken up Tron. So they fire off Blast Zone in response. I hope I hit the right Tron land. I think I did. Doesn't mean they haven't drawn another one, though. But instead it's Scavenger Grounds. The utility lands out of Tron, or out of Eldrazi Tron, are like the most annoying thing. But the fact that they have that makes me really think we're rewarded for our sequencing. And they have 2 Blast Zones. I don't think we should give them credit for a 3rd. I think we are just going to play out a couple more 2-drop threats here and try to win before they recover. Obviously, the Scavenger Grounds is going to be incredible against these specific threats, but nothing we can do about that. We've been drawing, like, pretty bad, actually. Like, considering how many free cards we've seen, we've been drawing pretty bad. Oh no, they immediately rip a relevant payoff. It's Karn the Great Creator. Well, at least Bob and a non-Delirious Flayer can still attack him off the field. He cannot get Bridge this turn. Or if he gets it, he cannot play it this turn. Okay, he gets it. And they're just conceding. Okay, well, fair enough. I won't question it. Hey, guys, through some bad matchups, we're 2-2, and I'll take it. It feels like variance is deciding a lot of these in both directions, but we are spicing it up, and we're staying competitive through some real bad stuff. So the power of disruption, Lurrus is still looking really good this league. Lurrus has been awesome. Dark Confidant's been a major MVP, if you ask me. And the Matchmaker can give us a favorable matchup here in round 5, and I won't be mad. I really won't be mad, I promise. I promise. I promise. Give us something we actually want to play against. Well, we've got a really, really good opening hand. We're against an Obosh deck. Okay. We're on the draw. I'm afraid of Gruul, which will be just the capstone of the, all of the most miserable matchups in Modern besides the Astrolabe decks, and that's exactly what we're against. Okay. Well, when it rains, it pours. Oh my god. You cannot make it up, my friends. You cannot make it up. This matchup is horrid. It's horrid. We can beat it, but so much of it is just completely out of our hands. Okay, they're about to draw Windswept Heath. So, Inquisition. See what you've got. They have Lightning Bolt, don't care. Okay, this is it's filled with 2-for-1 in value and interaction, but it's none of the cards that really beat us. So, with my luck against Gruul specifically, I'm not trying to say I'm just unlucky in general, but against Gruul, every time I see a hand like this, I'm like, okay, I have a chance. They immediately top deck either Klothys or Magus or something, so we gotta fade that. Assuming we're going to fade that, because those cards will just kind of beat us for the most part, because we can't outcompete a Klothys with our Skoos. It's gonna die to Bolt. Would we rather take away the Finks or the Bone Crusher? Probably just the Bone Crusher. But we're at their mercy for sure. For sure we're at their mercy. And we know at least this turn, the best they're going to be able to do is just jam the Finks. Hey, we've got our forests. In case of a future Blood Moon, that's something. I guess we're probably supposed to run out the Bob as Bolt bait. Try to take over the game with Scoozy. So their hand is 2 lands and a Lightning Bolt. It's beatable. And we draw Marsh Flats, which is okay, helping us play around Moon is a thing. So I'll take our top deck up on the offer, and I will go get a beautiful Ice Age basic Swamp. And I will continue praying for bricks off the top from the opponent, because they have a lot of cards that are really going to get us. But we just hope they don't draw them, right? No block. Not this time. Not this early. Remember, we want to draw out Lightning Bolt if we can. Oh my goodness, another Finks. Whoa. Wow. That's actually so bad. That is actually so bad. Thoughtseize and Trophy, huh? I mean, we can Thoughtseize the Bolt, they'll Bolt the Bob, and then we can play Skoos. And then we can start, competing against the Finks. But then they can cast this Goon on curve next turn, and that's just gonna really kill us. That's just gonna really kill us, isn't it? So I think the thing to do might actually be to play Lurrus, get our 3-for-1, and try to block Kitchen Finks as bad as that is. We just kind of have to attrition our way through these. We're not... If we had the play, we could probably, like, have engineered a situation where we're taking the game over with Scooze, but... Okay, so Bolt's been drawn out. See what they're drawing for turn. Another land. Okay, so, you know, if they didn't have a companion, we would be experiencing a fail rate from the opponent. But they do. I'm surprised they didn't... Why didn't they play this one main phase? That would just have made this Sphinx do double damage. Was that a misplay, or am I missing something? Or did I mistrack the hand? No, I don't think I did, but maybe I did. Yeah, I think the opponent just gave us a window for no special reason. And we've got a handful of removal, so it's pretty cool. We definitely got a trophy away, Obosh, I don't know how you say that. And then we could decay something, or we could just play a Bob and plan to trade him. I think it's probably correct to play the Bob, because Bob is just really low value when we're on the ropes like this. I'd rather trade him for 1/2 of Finks than do much else with him, so I guess that's the play. And we are still working toward that day, that lovely day when we can take over the game with Scavenging Ooze, which is realistic, but they gotta keep breaking off the top, and that's the part that is less realistic, right? Okay, pillage. Yikes. Trophy here. I don't know if them pillaging our duel is any kind of indication that they're not on a moon plan. I assume they still are. I think that's just kind of the better play at that spot. So even though we won't get to eat with the trigger on the stack, I think this is the better block, because we take 1 less damage now, and then we can just kind of outsize their board with the ooze with consummate ease. That's the idea anyway. And I'm just going to do this main phase to play around a lightning bolt off the top. Obviously, drawing these discard spells at this stage of the game is pretty awful, but we do have still 2 very good cards in the hand with Trophy and Decay. And we got a very good card on board, the good old Scoozy. We drew another very good card, in the form of Tarmogoyf. How about that? So, what do we like in here? I think I'm just liking Tarmogoyf Go. Don't want to go shields down on either of our spells, especially Trophy in case they top deck Glorybringer. But I also don't want to... I think we should assume they have nothing in hand. Tireless Tracker. Brutal. Okay, and they show us the fetch land that we don't know about, so There's that. Alright, thankfully we do have the answer. Unfortunately, we kind of have to do it now for mana efficiency purposes, and they're going to get to make a second clue in response. But that is what it is. There's no other alternative here for us. It's a brick. It's a brick in the form of Overgrown Tomb. Well, there are 4 total creatures to eat. Let's ship in with the ooze. I'm only going to eat 2. And once more, we're going to pass holding up trophy here. Bone's getting on that clue train. Our odds of continuing to fade real bomb top decks are growing slimmer and slimmer, but they already did hit a pretty bomb top deck in the form of that tracker. So they saw a bunch of new ones. We know about the Heath. 3 unknown. Both of our things survive Chandra and Glorybringer. And that's the concession. Wow. Okay. Once again, game's kind of getting decided by variance. I think we played that one well, but they had some windows where we could have not done much about their top decks. Anyway, we got there. I like Decay. I like Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear beats Klothys, and also generically helps them race, helps us race them, rather. I think it's very reasonable. You know, you can cast and equip it under a moon effect. Lots of things to like. Torpor Orb. Seasoned Pyromancer. Possibly some other things, but I think the things we care about are not going to get hosed by that so much. Ditto Pithing Needle. It has some applications, but I'm probably not going to play it. I guess we can find a window for Extinction Event that makes sense enough to probably play it. Rain of Tears is a maybe. It's a maybe. The thing is, like, I think Brutality is a good card in the matchup, like, as a 2 to 3 of, and we don't have that many bad cards in the main deck. In fact, there's very little I want to cut. Even like the spicier selections here, like Ballista and EE, are kind of reasonable, but I think Ballista's just weak enough that I'm going to cut it anyway. Let's play Brutality, and let's get Shadow Spear and Decay in for sure. We're not going to be on the Rain of Tears plan this time on the draw. We could play a third Brutality, but I probably won't again on the draw, a little worse. So do we want an Extinction Event and to cut 2, or no event and to cut 1? I think I'm going to trim Blackmail. Like, there's an argument for going down a little bit on discard anyway, and Blackmail is just kind of the worst. Everything else seems fine. In the past, I haven't mind cutting a Scooze because it's bad against Moon and Pillage and stuff, but it is one of the things that can also compete with Klothys or just take over the game on its own. I don't know. I don't know if I want Extinction Event, but I think it's a little better on the draw relative to other things. So do we just cut a Bob here? Like go down to 3 Bob? Or maybe, yeah, no, I'm going to go down to 2 Scooze rather than go down to 3 Bob. It's a tough call. It's a close call. A lot of interesting things with our build here to do in this matchup. I'm not confident in the very nuanced decisions, but I think we're on We're there or thereabouts, as they say. We have Extinction Event. We've been seeing this card a lot. Hey, it helped us beat E-Tron. Can we keep the hand, though? This hand just, like, rolls over and dies to their good progressions. But Mauling sucks in the matchup, too. This plays around moon effects okay. And it has the Extinction Event to follow up. It is a functional, reasonable hand. And hey, we know that Odd is going to be good with Extinction Event. And we have even cards in hand, so that's going to put me over the line to keeping it. But it is very, very weak to their good draws. Like, not even their nut draws, like, it's weak to their good draws. But so is being on the draw in mulling to 6 in this matchup in general, right? So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to... I was just going to say I'm going to hope for an Inquisition off the top. We did it. Yeah. We're actually kind of safe to run out Blooming Marsh here, actually. I mean, if they have Veil of Summer, I'm going to be very annoyed, but there is no way we don't cast this. All right, they don't. They have Blood Moon, though, 2 Giants and a Klothys. Really scary hand. Really, really scary hand, but we can play around the moon. So I kind of just want to take Klothys. Like, there's no way we can beat the Klothys with our Skoos when they have double stomp in hand, so sure. Alright, can we get something that survives a stomp like a Tarmogoyf, but we cannot. So I guess we're supposed to play something out into it. Gotta be mana efficient. We're allowing them to be mana efficient this way too, but we're the ones with Lurrus, so I think it's better for us to make this trade. And we'll give them something that is a must answer, which is Flayer. And also, you know, in theory, getting the Flayer dead can give us a different line of play with Skoos surviving the second stomp. Potentially. So many things that can be played from the Exile Zone right now. Here comes Blood Moon. There's our Tarmogoyf, a turn behind, but still the play. Our Lurrus is now shut off. KOP with the Utopia Sprawl. Maybe into a Giant. Yep. Okay, Basic Forest is actually an eminently reasonable draw. Maybe we'll draw Basic Swamp next and get to go on the Lurrus plan too. We're still pretty soft to a whole lot of things, but the good news is we can play around this stomp now by doing this. Not even shrinking our Goyf in the process. As ever, though, we are just kind of at the mercy of this Gruul deck. They either have the 5th land for Obosh or they have Gas. Like, there's no real way around that. Not taking the block here. We've got Extinction Event. We want them to play out into it as much as possible. And there's an example of them doing so, really. Kitchen Finks. Ooh, Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay is nice. I'm not going to do it yet, though. I think we event away the 2-for-1 creatures, grow the ooze again, smash for 8, and then we can unlock our stuff, our lands with Decay on Moon if we need to next turn, and also get Lurrus back. All right, let's choose Odd. What do you think? I think Odd is the way to go right here. You know what the problem here is, though, is are we going to be able to win through the Obosh after all this is settled? Should we maybe try to get them to play a little more into the Extinction Event? That might be true. I'm just, like, it's going to really suck if they draw a Pillage for a basic swamp. That's, like, the thing I'm afraid of the most. I think I'm going to wait, though. I think I'm going to wait. Going to lose our Goyf to the Stomp this way, unless we want to decay the Moon in response, which is probably going to be the play, right? So why don't we eat here? I think this is pretty good for us overall. It's definitely tricky. It's definitely a tricky spot. Okay, very nice. So now, now we also have the ability to get another basic swamp and still cast Extinction Event after all said and done. So I do like our position well enough, as well as I can like most positions against a Gruul deck that's not failing to function. It's still definitely a tough one, and there's a great example of exactly why. I just have value for days and days and days, my friends. Days upon days. They pitch another Blood Moon. They see 2 freshies. And the board is getting complicated. Dead weight. Sure. I still think we should be a little more patient with the Extinction Event. Dead weight seems really good. Dead weight on the Spyro. Eat them before they get to come back. Play the Lurrus out. Get this dead weight back. And then we're smashing for 10, and we have a one-sided sweeper still waiting in hand. And we are well and truly playing around Blood Moon. Yeah, you know, one of our things could die to block plus bolt here, but... Wow, what a turn. Dead weight. Dead weight. That was epic. That was pretty epic, not gonna lie. I don't know what the opponent can have here. I don't mean to tempt fate by saying that, but... Another Spyro. Making 2 tokens is definitely something they can have. But unless they have removal for Lurrus to follow it up, I guess we still have lethal, right? Because if they're going to play... Oh, Relic of Progenitus? Oh, no! That's something they can have. That sucks. That really sucks. Oh, man. Okay. We draw Maelstrom Pulse. It's actually not quite lethal. Still a good one, though. Right, we have 6 lands. Yeah, we don't have anywhere near lethal. So what do we do here? I think we need to continue being patient with Extinction Event. Do we just pulse away and subsequently eat the Spyro? We can also ship in with the Goyf, and if they block him, we can recast him. Alright, I guess that's the play. We could also pulse away elemental tokens, but then they have a double block that's way better. Season Pyro into freaking... Into Relic, man. Into Relic. It had to be Relic. It just had to be Relic. And once again, we definitely have to eat the Spyro before they get the mana. There's no real reason not to test the waters with that attack there. I guess to bluff would be the reason to have not done so, but... Alright, so opponent's got 2 cards waiting in exile. They're operating off 6 lands. Using that fetch land is not free. And we have Extinction Event in the back pocket for whenever we need it. It's going to be great. We just have to find the optimal time for it. Okay, there's Obosh. So I guess now's the optimal time. If they have no other relevant card in hand, oh, they have another freaking Stomp. Ah! And we don't quite have lethal after that. We have another Goyf, though. Is another Goyf enough reason for us to just shove here? It's gotta be, right? Okay. Once again, we could be a little bit more patient with this, but I think this is good. This has got to be good enough, right? Opponent says LOL, of course. Nice draws. Yo. If only you knew how long we've been holding that. If only you knew, my friend, how long we've been holding on to that one. So the opponent goes to 2. And they throw away their final piece on the board. They've got 2 more Bone Crusher Giants waiting in exile. I mean, yeah, the opponent saying nice draws when they hit their second Spyro into a relic. That's something. That's something, okay. Alright, rather. I'm getting a little delirious at the end of the league. That's something, okay. Oh, man. This is another one, guys. This is another mega grind fest. This is in keeping with my last couple months of BGX gameplay, where most of the time we're against horrible matchups and we're slogging it out, and we're still doing okay. It looks like we're in position to land the 3-2 here after a really rough start. Hope opponent isn't just gonna BM us here. But it looks like they might be. Right at the end of the league, you hate to see that. You really do. Well, guys, I'm going to stop speaking here and probably end up cutting a part of this end league away. I've got to do more editing. The BM sucks when it's on its own. Like, it sucks in a vacuum, but it makes me have to do more work. And I really resent that. Anyway, well, I'll be right back. Alright, friends, well, as you can see, our opponent had us down to 4:30 on their clock, so made us wait for 10 minutes, taking one action, assigning a block to keep the clock going as long as possible. Hoping that we disconnect, or just hoping to make our life that little bit worse. You know, when you work 6 days a week through a pandemic, and you've got little kids at home and you've got a lot of obligations, doesn't it just warm your heart when at the end of a league somebody pulls that one on you? Oof. Just really restoring my faith in humanity there. But anyway, the comeback king here. The comeback of the month, I guess, for me anyway, on the channel. And yeah, after a really rough start, we end up cashing another league. So I have still not gone negative with a Lurrus BGX deck. I think that is 9 or possibly 10 leagues. No 5-0s, but also no 2-3s or worse. Everything is a 3-2 or a 4-1. Lurrus just giving you that little bit more consistency, that little bit more oomph. And little is an understatement. It's a lot. It's a lot. I continue to feel the same way about Modern. I have a lot of really good moments in games, and I like that Rock is back in vogue, and I like a lot of the micro decisions with the Lurrus deck, but overall, the decks that we're facing, man, in the gameplay, it's just one of my less favorite Modern metas that I've ever experienced, but you all know my thoughts on that by now. Let's talk about this deck. First of all, can we say how sweet it was to have all 5 of our beautiful Ice Age basics out under, not quite under the moon after we destroyed it anyway, but against the Blood Moon deck, and for a time they were out under the moon, at least some of them were. So that piece of spice worked out really well for us. More realistically, more seriously, the spice that I really liked this league was Deadweight. Deadweight is not that unheard of, but I think it's very main deckable. I think, Dan, you made a really good call here to main deck this. It's something that had occurred to me on my own list as well, but I ended up relegating it to the sideboard. But hey, if Fatal Push is main deckable, so is Deadweight, giving us that Seal of Fire replica. It's not as proactive, but it has other better upsides as well. I think it's overall a worse card, but not strictly so. And, you know, we are a removal deck. We got to be able to kill the small creatures, and giving Rock a 5th playable 1-mana piece of removal is actually really, really sweet. That's one big attraction to, historically speaking, to Jundar Abzan. And, cards like Deathmark have seen play occasionally. Deadweight is a little bit limited, but the upside alongside Lurrus is huge. So, Deadweight was very impressive here today as far as the non-meta cards go. We did not, unfortunately, get to resolve an EE, so that was a non-factor, just didn't draw it. Walking Ballista seemed really poor to me. I was never really happy to see it, even if we were in situations, and hey, let's be clear, I can always be missing something. So take this all, with a grain of salt. It is harder for me to see every line optimally when I am live recording. But assuming I didn't miss anything, the Ballista was never really much where we wanted to be. And even if we were in a spot where I'm like, oh, I can dump the Ballista to make Flayer bigger or Tarmogoyf bigger, I don't know if I would actually do it. Like, yes, if you can do that, reap the rewards, and then buy it back with Lurrus, that's really good. And the card's very flexible, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. I'm not saying that nobody should play it, but I personally wouldn't really be excited to try this again right away, so soon. Eyes of the Wizened, unfortunately, and didn't end up mattering much against Blue-Tron. Not really ideal for that matchup anyway, potentially playable, which is why I brought it in, but really this is to beat more traditional control decks, and we didn't happen to face those, so jury on that one's still out, but Extinction Event was epic. Extinction Event was awesome. I would really be interested in playing this card again, for sure, on the basis of the performance here. Blackmail, I don't know. I think it's, like I said at the beginning, I think this card should realistically be in people's maybe boards. I don't know if now's the perfect time in the meta to play it. I think when big mana is dominant is when you really want to play it, and right now, I think there's too many companion decks for Blackmail to be optimal, but, I'd try this card again in the future for sure, but right now I really like Deadweight main deck. I really like Extinction Event in the sideboard from what the Spice brought us here today, and again, was not favorably impressed by Walking Ballista, nor was I favorably impressed by such a high density of the static hate pieces. Like, I think Needle, Sphere, and maybe even Torpor Orb, although I'm more skeptical of this than of anything else, are all relatively playable maybe board cards, but I personally am lower on the static hate pieces than even the normal Rock player is, and this list in particular has a higher density of them than the normal Rock lists do by far. And I think today, in a couple windows, especially in the early games, we saw kind of why, unfortunately, they're not always the best fit in our decks. And that doesn't mean that you'll never play them, but it means you should think long and hard before playing them. I think they're not as much of a free roll in a Rock deck as they are in other archetypes, whereas something like Collector Roof, because it's a proactive 2/2, is more of a free roll in our deck when it is otherwise well positioned. Obviously, that's not the case right now, especially in this deck when we have stuff like Ballista and EE main deck, and the Baubles and the Spellbombs everywhere, and artifact decks not that common, but you understand the point, right? So anyway, my friends, those are my thoughts on the list. Dan, thank you so much, my friend. I wish we had better matchups for you, for your Spice to really shine, and in general for your league. I think we had 5 unfavorable matchups. Like, I assume Lurrus Scales is unfavored, but I don't know. To be clear, I don't know. That was my first time ever playing it, and that's the one where I'm not sure if I played it optimally. Looking back, I haven't looked back yet, but thinking back from here, so who knows? But I assume that one's at least a little bit unfavorable, and I kind of know all the other ones are pretty much unfavorable that we had here, right? I'm struggling to remember exactly what we faced, but I think it was pretty much 5 unfavorable matchups, and despite that, and despite our opponents, I think not mauling the entire league, we came out with a 3-2. So I wish we could do a little bit better for you, big guy, but we got a sweet comeback. We got a positive result, and some of your choices really, really shone. I think this could be the springboard for more people, for example, trying Extinction Event in BGX, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So thank you, Dan, for your support, for your moderation of the Discord, and for bringing us this list, and for lending me the Sweet Basics and the Walking Ballista. We also, lest I forget, have to thank once again our newest Patreon supporter. I am no more confident in your name now than I was at the beginning of the league, my friend, but I'm going to call you Guy Catlin, and I thank you so much for signing up as a confidant. My friends, thank you for watching. What else can I say? I've said everything I wanted to say about the list, and I've said everything I wanted to say about the broad meta. And who knows how long we're going to be living with Lurrus in Modern, so it behooves you to get good with it and to figure out a list that you want to play. I personally was kind of hoping we'd see a ban, with the first big ban announcement, so we could recalibrate, some kind of ban, whatever it might be. I'm not calling for the head of Lurrus specifically and only Lurrus, but the companion meta, for now it's what we've got, so we've got to be able to compete with it. And the good news is that Catrock really, really can, as can Jund, as can Abzan, and maybe as can Sultai. So best of luck to you, my friends out there. however you're getting your games in with whatever deck you're using. I wish you all the best, and I thank you again for watching. Stay tuned to the channel. Please give me a thumbs up, a subscribe if you have not already done those things. You can leave a comment and let me know what you think about the list. Dan is soliciting feedback about the list, as well as anything else you want to bend my ear about. I hope to see you for the next video. I don't know what it's going to be, but you can be sure that it will be coming soon, and it will be some sweet gameplay or some sweet theory. Thanks again, and I will talk to you soon.